And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great show today. I'm back from vacation. I've been gone a couple of weeks, man, and I kind of missed it, but I had to come back and we had to have this conversation. One of the topics we're going to talk about is Larry Hoover, and we're going to talk about some other things as well. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Thank you. And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. Yeah, it's been one, y'all. Well, folks, first of all, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yahshua of Nazareth, for making it possible to be here. And, folks, welcome to the show. Yeah, man, Pastor's in the studio today, man. It's been 2 weeks. I've been on vacation. I'm in the Georgia area. I'm here to celebrate my first great-grandson, who will be born into the world whenever he get ready. So, but we felt that it was almost necessary that I get back on the horn and discuss some things for the Black community. See, I want to first talk about, and I'm gonna give a few minutes, and I'm gonna bring my panel in. The Larry Hoover pardoning, he deserved it. And I want the Black community to understand why I'm saying this. Not only that I was indoctrinated into the GDs as a boss, just the brothers of the struggle, but it has never been about the gang banging, the killing, and the drugs when I was coming up. It was about being a pillar in the community. It was about carrying grocery. It was about painting fences. It was about helping seniors. It was about helping our young people. Some of the young guys never had lunches because their parents couldn't afford them. He started a free lunch program in the Black community. Larry was beneficial in a lot of us guys who didn't have the type of leadership with father or understood the city of Chicago. It was important for us to know and have some kind of structure. Because see, back in my day, when the Gangster Disciples was formed, they were formed not as a group to go out and commit crimes, but they was formed for protection of the Black community. When I grew up in Inglewood, Illinois, it was predominantly white. And going to school was a challenge every day because I had to fight the white gangs just to get to class. And once I got to school, I also had to fight my way through the day because every time I turned around, there was a white student who wanted to beat my butt. But what Larry did was created something that gave the young brothers and sisters in the community protection. That we were able to get to school now without the fighting and all the being jumped on by the white gangs who were continuing to show that they didn't want Black people in the white community. So that's how it got started. And what it evolved to was because once Larry was identified And this is why I'm telling the Black community, you better listen to what I'm telling you right now, because it's much bigger than Larry Hoover getting out of prison. This is a moment that the Black community can see and understand that our men and women have become political prisoners with the previous governments under the Democratic leadership, because they never wanted Black people to unify and wake up and understand that in unity we could stand and build our own communities. See, this is bigger than Larry Hoover getting past 6 life sentences. This is the time when Black people can say, well, if that president gave a man 6 life sentences pardoned, then there was something in the paperwork that gave him the positive incentive to do so. So in 1970s, when they created the RICO Act, they created it because they wanted to take all the brothers off the streets who was about to struggle for Black people. Larry Hoover's not serving time for a crime he committed. Larry Hoover's serving time as a political prisoner because he loved the Black community. He loved to see us country boys come up to the city where he can tell us and give us structure on what we needed to do. Go to school, get an education. The key word, get into politics. That's what got Larry locked up. The Pookie murder was a fluke. What Pookie did and stole the drugs from the set that he stole from, that order did not come from Larry. But with the RICO Act and those who actually pulled the trigger, they were forced into telling that Larry had something to do with it. To the brothers and sisters of Chicago, to the brothers of the struggle, to the vice lords, to the Stones, all of us have experienced the problem with a government that hated us if we loved our community. And that's what this is about. This ain't about Trump. This ain't about what the crimes that was supposedly committed. This is about a Black man who had the power to bring the Black community together. This is about 12,000 Black men in the 90s marching down on the city of Chicago because of officers like John Burge, the bad police officer who hated us, who hated brothers in the city because they were brainwashed. So this is much more than Larry Hoover himself. Yes, I'm glad the chief is getting out, and he should be. And we're going to discuss that in a minute. But I want people to hear what I'm saying today. This is a wake-up call for Black men across the country. Because see, this is the position as a pastor. See, I have to say something to my brothers on the cloth. Now, there's been a lot of people that have been positioning themselves in certain administrations so they could do certain things. A lot of y'all pastors out there in Chicago, y'all sold your soul to the devil. Because when J.B. PRICKSTER got in office and all the other governors who got in office, who should have looked through the fact and look at the facts of these cases, because there's no tapes, there's nothing that was ever done or presented that Larry did anything except talk about politics. So you put the man in isolation, you beat him down, you tell him he's supposed to say things, and he might have made comments because he want to come home. It was never about the crimes. It was about his commitment to the Black community. But for me, it was always about never forgetting where I came from. And so the other day, see a lot of y'all brothers saying, oh, well, Pastor, you out here, you all on Trump's tip. You Trump's boy, and this and that. No, I'm a man of God. And wherever I can get into a place that I can make changes in my community for the better, that's where we all should be. All pastors should be where I'm at today. You should be dealing with an administration that's going to do something righteous. That's why the day before Larry was paroled, I had a conversation with the office of Alice Johnson, the pardons are. And for about an hour or so, we was on the phone discussing why I felt that Mr. Hoover should be given an opportunity to get clemency in this sentence commuted. Now, all of us have contributed to things, but I want to say this. It was God who allowed me to meet them the day before and present my case to them. And the next day, it got before President Trump, and Larry was pardoned for those 6 life sentences. And saying that, I'm bringing my people in. What's up, Doc? What's up, Dre?
Hey, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's been a vacation for me to get away. Behind the scenes, I'm still working because it needed. As I was saying earlier in my monologue to you guys, and y'all young, y'all don't quite understand how it was back in the day, man. Any black men who stood up for our community, like Larry and Jeff Ford, yes, there were people who did things that was unsavory and ungodly, but that didn't mean that the people that was running the organizations committed any crimes. Because if that's so, then we need to hold the whole police departments across the United States of America accountable for all those officers who killed black men, who shot black women in the back, who did all these unsavory things to our community, and they still have not been held accountable for it. So now you would take the life of a man who's been locked up as a political prisoner, and I'm saying it because we've already researched it. We know what happened with Pookie. We know what happened with the ghost dope, the ghost drugs that he was supposed to have. The RICO law was created, and President Trump, you watch this show. He understands what black people done went through because he had 38 charges against him that was all felonious and proved out to be wrong. Guys, what's y'all thoughts on that?
I'll let Andre go first.
Yeah, well, I think that 6 life sentences is more than excessive. And I think that there needs to be a reevaluation of his case. The judges that came to that decision to give him that many sentences, and I'd like a little bit more details, especially for our viewers. Was it life without parole? Was it life with parole? Because as you have told me, Pastor David Lowery, and I did look up this, and this is correct. Once you serve 2 life sentences, you should be exempt. And in Chicago, a life sentence with parole is 20 years. So you said that Larry has served 50 years. You told me more than once he served 50 years, that he should be eligible to, get over the remaining state time that he would have to do. So he's been exonerated of all his federal charges. So the time that he spent in jail should translate to this time with the state, but we'll just have to see exactly what they do.
Your thoughts, Doc?
Yeah, it was one of those things. He was locked up not because he was ineffective, it was because he was effective.
Yes.
And in my opinion, during that time, he was one of those individuals, they couldn't kill him because they had already killed Malcolm. They had already killed King.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they could not take another so-called, and I won't say, I'm not demeaning it when I say so-called, but I'm just stating the fact he was a leader in the community, even though he was imprisoned, because people saw how he was trying to help the Black community, right? Really, forge forward to be independent, to really look at, okay, you guys, we need to start, taking care of ourselves. We need to start, being, less dependent on the government and more independent. And this has happened over, this is, how should I say, it's systematic in the Black community. Whenever we are seen as a movement that's trying to be successful and independent, because they keep telling us, you guys need to be independent. You need to be successful. You need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Whenever we do that, you undercut it. And it's the federal government doing it. Period. It always falls at the feet of the federal government. I do not care. FBI, it falls at your feet. It's there. I mean, we've seen J. Edgar Hoover's statement. He said, the one thing that is a threat to America is Negro unity. He said it. A
Exactly.
statement.
And that was the thing too, because like I said, I consider Larry, Jeff Ford, some of the other black leaders that was in the community that was doing the right thing, political prisoners. Because how is it that Larry set up the school lunch program for kids who didn't get lunch, and they, you know, one of his ideas of it, and it holds to be true, because the Black Panthers, when they were formed, they picked it up what Larry did by opening up the school lunch programs. See, I'm giving the brothers a history lesson today. See, and that unity is what created the fear from the government, from J. Edgar Hoover, who was a black man undercover. That fear, y'all learning something right now. That fear that said, Larry Hoover, he is the next Malcolm X. We cannot have another Malcolm X. We cannot have another Dr. King, because black people rallied around those who helped the community. And that's why they went after Larry with the fake murder. That's all a lie. And when you look at the paperwork, it says itself. He said that the shooter, the actual shooter, was got out in the 90s that actually did it, said himself that Larry had nothing to do with it. But because Larry was so powerful with the black community, that's the reason why they threw the life sentences on him. That's the reason why they said, we cannot let him out. And listen, the things that happened to the GDs and the vice lords after Larry was locked up, it became a criminal enterprise. And you know who was running the criminal enterprise? The police departments. That's who was running the criminal enterprise. They were running the streets. They was putting the drugs into the brothers' hands. It was all sorts of other entities after Larry was locked up that they used this culmination of drugs, guns, the power in the name of the GDs and the vice lords to say Larry ran a criminal enterprise. And because he is locked up, calling shots out here on the streets, calling deaths, that never happened. Because it's just that simple. Right. The police in Chicago is one of the most corruptest street organizations there is on the planet. And Larry Hoover became a pawn in this game so that they could shut his mouth and shut him down and keep him from unifying black people. And what I'm telling black people today is this. And the reason why I say it's much bigger than Larry, a lot of y'all want to say, well, he's never going to get out of jail. Larry Hoover has already served his time. Just as you said, Andre, 20 years is a lifetime in the state of Illinois. Larry Hoover was brought up under that law. So if he served 50 years, the remaining balance of his sentence for the state should also be time served, because he served over 50 years and 20 years is a life. So to the people, to the American people and patriots across this country, this is a system that even when you serve the time the system says, they still want to hold you in jail, not because of the crimes, because this man is rehabilitated. This is a 74-year-old man who probably got another 10 years to live or whatever the case may be. He needs to be released. If you can release January 6th and you can release everybody else and real criminals, because that's what the Biden administration did. They released real criminals. But the brothers like Larry Hoover over the wall who got power, and that's the biggest fear. Their biggest fear now is that if Larry get out, he can bring the black community together. He can stop the shooting. He can stop the killing, but at the same time, he's going to demand things from the government. He's going to demand that we be one nation within a nation, because black people need to start taking care of the black community. That's what the real deal is. If black people had their own shops, they had their own stores, if we had our own banks, if we had our own schools, we could teach our children and raise them to be men and women to be productive in society. That's why Larry Hoover's locked up. I want to play a clip, guys, that you guys can see. This came out, like I said, I've been on vacation, but Not really. I just been waiting to have a time to talk. That's all. And today is the day.
Next to Chicago gang kingpin and killer Larry Hoover, 24 hours after his life sentences were erased by President Trump.
Now, Hoover is being processed out of the federal supermax prison in Colorado and into an Illinois prison where he is expected to ask for parole from a 200-year state sentence. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy on the story has some answers for us tonight. Chuck?
Allison, at age 74, gangland leader Larry the King Hoover has spent most of his life behind bars. Tonight, if history holds true, prison is where Hoover will spend the remainder of his life. Hoover cannot leave his past, is what the Illinois Prisoner Review Board said just 3 years ago when he asked for parole. And most of the same people that said no to Hoover then will make the decision now. Larry Hoover had already been arrested more than a dozen times when he kidnapped and killed a drug dealer in this Englewood alley in 1973. William Pookie Young shot between the eyes, dead at age 25 for stealing drugs from Hoover's gangster disciple street gang. Hoover's sentenced to 200 years in state prison. He would later be convicted of numerous federal crimes as the leader of a murderous drug gang spanning 36 states and commanding a criminal army of 30,000 soldiers. With this stroke of a pen by President Trump yesterday, Hoover's 6 federal life sentences were commuted. His son thankful tonight.
I think he's been a political prisoner because of the power that he possesses.
When Larry Hoover leaves the Supermax prison here in Colorado, where he has been in solitary confinement, it will be in the custody of Illinois officers who will return him to a maximum security state prison. But in Illinois, Hoover is eligible for parole and return to the streets, a benefit that was denied him numerous times, most recently in late 2022. The parole board noting Hoover's role in this riot at Pontiac Prison in 1978 and his use of a decoding dictionary in his cell in 2017, seeming to support the belief that Hoover has continued to run gang rackets from jail, despite his...
I want to stop that right there. Now, did you hear what he said? He said he conducted it. How are you going to conduct a system? And I mean, it can be done. But the fact that you had a decoding book in your cell, what could you get? You can't get nothing in prison like that. I mean, you want to say you can get drugs, whatever, but the point that I'm making is this conviction of him in jail to say that he's a kingpin is what the government wanted to put on him. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. It's not so much the framing, it's the placement of the evidence. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It's the convenient placement of the evidence. It's, it's evidence of convenience. It's a crime of convenience. Find me the man and I'll find you the crime.
Exactly.
That's what this is.
You want to respond on that, Dre, before I go further?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why they think this man is just like the boogeyman. Like he's 74 years old. He's reading a decoding book, and they think that he's still actively running a gang system. Like, what evidence do they have of that other than this random book that they found in his cell? Like, what is the decoding book? What's the title of it? Like, it doesn't. It's not lining up.
Well, you know what? When we looked at the paperwork, man, the paperwork is so inconclusive. It's nothing solid. There's no evidence of anything. It's all hearsay. And see, that's what I'm telling black people, and I'm saying it. And I keep saying it because what Trump went through is what Larry is going through right now. He's been going through this system with the same lies, the same government tactics. Anybody that speak out, this is going to happen to you. This is why they don't want him out, man. Because, and just like you read, Dre, 20 years is life. So if he served 50 years, he's already served 2 life sentences, and he should be back home with his family.
Promise that he's been reformed. According to the 2022 Illinois parole denial, Hoover's past continues to impact his present and will forever affect his future. Parole release at this time would not be in the interest of public safety. What all this means tonight is that Trump's commutation won't matter and Hoover won't be released, according to this former longtime Illinois parole board member and chairman.
I think it's all symbolic, and I think it's all just drama. because the president well knows that Mr. Hoover isn't going anywhere and that he's not going to be released. He's not going to be given freedom. He's got to come back and fulfill his Illinois sentence. I think he's trying to impress his friends, Kanye West, other celebrities who have been pushing for this pardon, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. He, at the end of the day, isn't going anywhere.
Just a couple years ago, when
He was
Hoover
kind of
last
too
came
gleeful
up for
about that,
parole,
in my
the state
opinion.
board denied release by a vote of 10-1. That single parole board member on Hoover's side is no longer on the board, but a majority of the others are, and they voted against Hoover's release less than 3 years ago. This time, they will be the only people standing between Hoover and freedom.
And see, that is very peculiar to me.
Thing that we need to clear up. Sorry. In this in this report, because at one point they're saying the Sun was saying that his sentence had been commuted. Later on, the guy that was gleefully saying that they weren't going to release him has said that Trump gave him a pardon. Which one is it?
It's clemency. I've looked up the documents. It's clemency. He was absolved of federal, not state.
Right.
So he still has to go back to the state, and the state has to release him. It's two separate releases.
Right. But at the same time, we have to understand that when Larry was charged with these charges, 20 years was life in the state of Illinois. So after 20 years, that's a life sentence right there. So if you say the state still has standing for 200 years, they do not really have standing because he's already done 2 life sentences and 10 years on top of it. So legally,
I'm just trying to figure out. Oh, sorry.
He should be out. He should be home with his family right now. That's what I'm saying. Now go ahead.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, for these 9 individuals on the parole board, what does he know about you that you are all 9 against him? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you? What you know what I'm saying? It's one thing to be like, yeah, he's guilty. It's like, what is it about this particular individual that you are so threatened by him? What's the threat? What's the threat?
Dr. Nichols, and another thing that they were doing, why are they showing these old pictures of a younger or middle-aged man?
Yes.
Why don't they show the current pictures of the 74-year-old man that's in there rotting in jail?
They're making a straw man. They got to make a straw man.
This is the media. If you look at the media, how the media is describing him, he's the kingpin killer. All of these things. And they showing this old, younger pictures so that people can remember and think this guy was really young. It's all about the fear. But more importantly, it's about the liberal media. See, every word that they were saying, they was down in Larry. They were saying, we can't let him out. We can't let him out because you know why they can't let him out? Because black people don't woke up. That's why black people voted 47% in the state of Illinois for Donald Trump. Black people. This is an opportune time for us to wake the hell up and unify and take our communities back.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, I'm getting calls every day. And believe me, I welcome the calls. A lot of the brothers from the prisons now, I am working in some capacity with Miss Alice Johnson through Kwame Kilpatrick, who we spoke with and who took my concerns directly to Miss Johnson, and he was released the next day in a meeting before that day, my concerns. So it's bigger than that. If God has allowed me to be in this position, and I'm telling the brothers across the country, all the brothers of the struggles, all the street organizations, yes, I am working to get Jeff Ford some clemency as well, and then we'll fight the state charges. But the point that I'm making is this. God has given me this vehicle. Black people should be rallying together now. We need to be rallying together now because if he put me in this position that I'm able to look at cases and say, I think this deserves to be a pardon and take it into her office. That's a lot of power. And that's what black people need to be rallying behind, what the foundation is doing and what we're doing with this network. They should be supporting it, because I'm telling you, I'm getting all sorts of calls from prison, from brothers right now that I speak to almost every other day, who got their clemency numbers, who I've already been given instructions by the pardon czar's office on how this process can work and how we can get our young brothers out of jail and out of prison. I need C numbers. I need a one-page summary. From there, I would send it to Washington, D.C. It would be picked up by the investigators that I work with, Kwame Kilpatrick. We will sit down and go over these cases, and then we will recommend that they be pardoned. That's the process, whether you got the C number or not. So I'm telling brothers right now across the country that's going to watch this show, and I'm going to be frank with you, bullshit ain't nothing. This is a good vehicle to get our people out of jail. And not only that, it's a good vehicle for us to unify and get behind what Larry is standing for, because Larry said it from the prison. It's time to put the guns down and pick up the voting ballots. Yeah. We need to be political. If we're political, we control our communities. And that's why they don't want him out, guys. Your thoughts on that? I got another clip to play for you guys.
I think a lot of the Democrats right now, I want them to show who they are. Because they hate Trump so much.
Yep.
That I just really want to hear them say it, especially those of us that are melanated. I want to see it. I want to document it so that we can show everybody, yeah, this is how they really feel. This is where they're really at. Because right now, do they have an opportunity to get behind him, and get behind his relief and push Pritzker to, give him a pardon at the state level? They sure do, but they're not going to do it. They're not. They're going to triple down to not release him. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because it's going to show who they really are.
Dre, your thoughts?
Yeah, here you have this 74-year-old man.
Yes.
Who spent 2/3 of his life in jail. Now, he's gotten clemency at the federal level. They're getting ready to transfer him to state. They're saying he has 200 years. What is the benefit of taxpayers paying for this man to spend the rest of his life in jail? It doesn't make any sense. Put this man on parole, put him on house arrest for a little while. If things start jumping off, then, he violates his parole, then he goes back in. But I doubt that this 74-year-old man is going to reignite a criminal enterprise that's going to take down the city of Chicago.
Larry Hoover is 74 years old. He has gotten to be an old senior man. He has not a lot of life left. Right. J.B. Pritzker, I know you watch my show. You might not like me, and I don't like you at all neither. But for the sake of righteousness, you need to sign those papers and let Larry Hoover come out of that prison. Yeah. He done served more than enough time. And this is why I'm calling on the black pastors across the country right now. This vehicle that we've seen to President Trump to be able to get our brothers and sisters out of prison is the time that we should be unified. To Gator Bradley, to Apostle McCoy, to Bobby Rush, all of y'all supposed to be men of God. All of y'all walking around talking about how good God is, but you got a relationship with J.B. Pritzker. This is the time that you do something right. Gator, this is the time that you go down there and you hugged up with Pritzker. You need to be telling him that they need to do the right thing for the black community, because for us, all GDs, BDs, vice lords, all of us, the great big we, all of us should be standing together now to say that he needs to be released. And if they don't do this, if JB can't do this and respect the black community, it only goes to show you why nothing good happens in Chicago and in the state of Illinois for black people. We are over 85% black in the state of Illinois, and yet we own nothing, but we got these politicians like JB, Brandon Johnson in office, all these state reps, Kwame, the dude down at the state's attorney, all of them, Barack Obama. You got all these black political leaders who know that this is wrong, but yet they say nothing. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, and like like I said, I want to see the railing that they do just because President Trump did it, the triggering. That's what I want to see. Because I know they're triggered. You know what I'm saying? And they know they need to do something, but they can't agree with Trump on this, because if they do agree with Trump on this, they'll lose their footing, right?
Yes.
So they have to rail against it. And I just want to see the reckoning, because if they do, they're done. Like, Illinois is done. If he does not get released, they will never vote Democrat again. I guarantee you. Guarantee it. Every seat will flip. Every seat. Independent, Republican, they'll do anything but Democrat. I'm just saying. Just saying.
And that's the reason why I'm running for mayor of Chicago. It's because of the righteousness, man. The brothers and sisters in Chicago, we should be literally dog dead, dog tired of the corruption out of other black people. We sitting up here, Brandon Johnson, and gave almost $1 trillion to illegals, but then now he running around talking about we need to start a study for reparations, because he is not a leader of the black community. Bobby Rush was in office for 30 years as a Democratic congressman. He did nothing for black people but stole our money. He's part of the problem. He's part of the problem why he never told me, well, I went down there to talk to Larry. You went down there to try to figure out a way how you can get some of the money off his name. Yeah. That's the sad part of it. We've had all these great leaders. What about Jesse Jackson?
Oh, you were not going to see him nor his son. Stop that. They've gotten in too much trouble with the state already. Really? No, you're not going to see
What about Al Sharpton? How come Al Sharpton ain't leading the way and saying, you know what, we need to get this brother out? You know why? Because they're part of the Democratic machine. And I'm saying it to black people right now. Yeah. We got to leave the Democratic machine.
Yeah, they can't do it. They can't do it, because if they do it, then they would be agreeing with Trump on something, and they cannot bring themselves to do it. They can't. They've put themselves in a horrible political position, because it's one thing to disagree with someone's policies, right? It's another thing to position yourself that anything that they do, you disagree with. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, because see, I'm appealing. See, because it's this simple for me. As a man of God, men and women of God are supposed to stand up above the government. We're supposed to stand up above the schools. We're supposed to stand up above all of this stuff. We're supposed to regulate it.
Yep.
So when they say homosexuals in the schools, the pastors get to say that's an abomination. We're not going to have our children learning that. What have you said? Nothing that
you said the exact opposite.
Exactly. So when you see me on this mic, I'm coming from the love of my community. I'm coming from the love of God and the love of righteousness. What has happened with the Democratic Party in the black community has been unrighteous deeds.
Yeah.
It's all been unrighteous to us. And black people, we saw it in the last 4 years. Look at the illegals. Look at what the homosexuals did. They decimated the black schools. They decimated family values. The transgenderism have been pushed down our throat. What were the men and women of God who said that ain't supposed to happen? That's why Pastor's standing and I'm saying what I'm saying. I work for God. You can't scare me. Hell, he saved my life and brought me back from the dead. He'll do it again.
Amen.
But the point that I'm making is this. Black people, this is our time. No longer can we wait for the handouts. We can't wait no more. We can't wait for the Democrats to get back in office and finish destroying us. Donald Trump is an anomaly. He has fought every system that we have been fighting for years. Black people, come off the plantation of the mind. That's why your kids is killing out there, because they don't have an education. They don't have a religious foundation. That's why the black community is decimated with no economic development. They don't want Larry Hoovers out, because Larry Hoovers are free thinkers. I'm a free thinker. It's time for us to wake up and think for ourselves. If we wake up and unify and own our own story, let me say this, and I'm gonna let y'all respond on this.
Okay.
See, God does things. For 2 weeks, I haven't been on the mic. I've been off to myself and in my own mind, okay? But when I came back today at 5 o'clock this morning, I went to the gym. And I'm sitting here saying whether I should do a show, but it was a Chinese brother that came in the steam room with me today. And we started talking about the community. I said like this, the black people need their own stuff, just like the Chinese, just like the Italians, just like the Mexicans, all of them, they are self-contained in their own community. And he said, Pastor, you are so right. They do need their own stuff. They don't need Chinese people in the community selling hair. They don't need Chinese people in there running this and that. The store. We was in agreement with each other. Now, this is a brother from another race. Never met him before in my life. But he walked out the steam and he came back to the steam and said, Pastor, I looked you up on Instagram. And would you pray for me? Would you pray with me this morning? At 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm being called to duty by God to pray for somebody that he sent to me. And man, I prayed for him. The point that I'm making is this. If other people can see the problem that we have as a black community, that other races can see that we need to be self-sufficient, why can't black people see it? Y'all?
I'll let Andre go first.
Okay. Well, I was gonna sit back and let you cook, Pastor Lowery, because you're chomping at the bit to go in. But I want to get back to what you're saying about Brandon Johnson and other so-called black leaders. Another thing, other than spending all the money on immigrants, Brandon Johnson came back to the community and said, well, now, unfortunately, we're going to have to raise taxes. And here's the thing I have a problem with. When citizens in the United States do nothing wrong and states mismanage the budget, who's holding them accountable? Not the comptroller. She's not holding him accountable. She didn't push back against him in any way. At least in New York, when Mayor Adams did things which people thought was mismanaging New York's budget with all the illegal immigrants, his comptroller actually pushed back, and I had some questions. So we need to, at the state level, have some sort of way for citizens to push back, because, a mayor's term is still a long time. And if they start doing things and then, overtaxing the citizens, there has to be a way for them to push back. And then number two, you also mentioned like the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons. Where are they? Because there's a woman named Larisha Thompson that was killed by 6 illegal immigrants, and no black leader is talking about it.
Nope.
Where is Jasmine Crockett? She's been so loud that Americans don't want to do these type of jobs, but when tragedy strikes, where is she to take on leadership and say, hey, we're welcoming the people from other countries, but we're not going to tolerate this. This is the person that the Democrats are putting on a pedestal along with AOC to be leaders in the party. But what are they doing for the community? How are they fighting for your vote? They're mismanaging money. They're not sticking up for people in the community. And then they're going to try to stick 200 years on a 74-year-old man who has totally been in the system for a long time and long time been reformed. When are we going to reform our justice system so that we cannot put more than natural life on people? Why should people be charged more than their natural life when their the purpose for the jail system is to rehabilitate and eventually punish, but also move people back in society? What is the purpose of our jail system if we're giving people 200-year sentences or more?
Well, you know what? Go ahead.
I think it depends on the crime, because I personally experienced one of my relatives dying at the hands of someone. And after they were given a 15-year sentence, even though they brutally took this person's life in front of their children. Okay. And we as a family had to say, he's not in the frame of mind for rehabilitation. And even when he sat before the parole board and they interviewed him, they said, no, you are not in the right frame of mind. You have no remorse. right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it depends on the circumstances of the individual. And this person was not sentenced to life. Like I said, this person was only sentenced to 15 years, and they had done 10 of those 15 years waiting upon their court hearing because they kept going to different attorneys. And I don't want to say this person was attorney shopping, but they were delaying the process. And so it takes 18 months to 2 years. Each attorney gets a turn, but they were only able to do it for so many times. Right. So again, it's the circumstances behind it. In the situation with my relative, I don't ever want to see this person on the street because of what they did. And I know they did it. You know what I'm saying? But in the case of Larry Hoover, it was insult to injury because the FBI came in and put him in a hole. This man is not supposed to be alive right now. They were wanting him gone when they threw him in that hole with
30
the
years.
FBI. That was the plan. Okay. So like I said, they didn't put him there because he was ineffective. They put him there because he was effective.
30
And
years of solitary confinement.
Right. The last point I'll make is, you know, Trump is like Neo. If anybody's ever watched The Matrix, he's like the Neo in The Matrix. And we all need to wake up out of the pods. It's time.
Yes.
It's time, people, to get back to Zion, which is the real world. Okay.
Yeah.
Where you're actually touching things.
Well, let me drop this other clip because I'm playing it and I'm kind of emotional because of the fact that I could see that there's people who have created much more heinous crimes and they were given time out of jail when they got so old. What are you going to do when you're old? What you going to do? You barely can get your clothes on. You need somebody to tell you where to go. You be fumbling around just like Joe Biden was fumbling around for 4 years. So this is why I'm so adamant about the fact that this is all political. I was on the David Zier show last week. I did an interview with him. I had been asking when I first started the crusade because I looked at the paperwork, Larry's paperwork, and everything was hearsay. When Pookie was killed, they say somebody else said that Larry did it. Mm-hmm. That's hearsay. There was no evidence that showed. Yeah, right. And they probably beat that person to death to say that because that's what they were doing. They was forcing confessions out of people that was lying because of John Burge, who won the lawsuit against the city. And those 18 brothers got out that he tortured, putting electrical on their testicles. If you was burning up my testicles, I say, yeah, he did it too.
Look, I'm telling you, there was a man, his name was Joshua Shaw, and he was a key witness in the investigation that Larry Hoover was involved in. Before Larry Hoover was sentenced, Joshua Shaw was killed, and he was a key witness. Okay, I need people to know that. And his murder till this day has gone unsolved.
Well, he was going to exonerate Larry. That's what that was. You know, that's just like Dr. King. Dr. King didn't die from the bullet that was shot at the Lorraine Hotel. Dr. King was killed in the emergency room. Mm-hmm. That came out that he was still living in the emergency room.
Yep, and they refused treatment.
Exactly. And so what I'm saying to Black people, we have to understand the enemy that we're facing. The enemy, y'all brothers out here locked up in these supermax prisons. Our families are being affected. Now we got to keep money on the books. We got to make sure that we go down and spend time with our fathers and our brothers and our sisters who've been locked up in these prisons for years. It's so many innocent people that are locked up in the prison because of what somebody else said about them. Now, brothers who committed crimes, you're supposed to do the time.
That's right.
But if you don't have the evidence to prove that I did something, the law said I should be free. And that's what President Trump considered. He considered the fact that there was no evidence to tie him to the murders of Pookie, who got violated by the set who they stole the drugs from. Larry did, because they said, well, he gave the hit. He didn't do that. If you stole my money and my drugs when I caught you in the right place, you're going to be like Pookie. if that's how I was living. But that had nothing to do with Larry. That was unfounded. And then the dope that they said, the ghost dope, somebody got busted for dope. They said, if you say Larry Hoover gave you this dope, we'll just lighten your sentence. Again, hearsay. And that's what got him out of the 6 life sentences, is because what they said didn't match up to the time that he got. There was no evidence that was ever presented that he did it or said it. It was only what somebody said who was fighting for their own lives to keep from getting locked up. Let me play this other clip.
In Chicago tonight, President Trump is commuting the
I want y'all to watch this closely, see how they talk.
Disciples co-founder Larry Hoover.
Suzanne Lemonnier is in our newsroom. Suzanne, this move doesn't mean he'll be getting out of prison.
Erica, Joe, legal experts see this as a potential hollow victory. Now, while Hoover may be released from federal prison, he still has a 200-year state sentence, for which a parole board has already denied early release. In 1993, Hoover spoke to former CBS News Chicago reporter John Davis, and at that time, Hoover was 42 years old and had already served 20 years in prison.
I've done my time. I paid my debt to society.
That was Larry Hoover, more than 3 decades ago. At that time, the leader of the Gangster Disciples and convicted murderer told our John Davis he had a lot of time to think about ways to stop the gang violence on the streets of Chicago.
One teenager don't like the other teenager because the way he wears his hat, because his ideology is different from his. A disciple don't like a vice lord. We all black people. It's no different.
At that time, Hoover, also known as King Larry, admitted being part of a fragile gang truce in the city and organizing a protest over plans to close health care clinics in African-American neighborhoods. Ron Safer, the lead prosecutor in Hoover's federal trial, reacts to news Hoover's life sentence has been commuted by President Trump.
I was disappointed. I do not think that this.
I want to pause it right there for a second, guys, and I want to say, now, did you see all the people when they tried to shut down the clinics in Inglewood and on the west side?
Yes.
Larry Hoover brought them all together. What you saw, what they hurried up and got off of, was the reason why Larry is locked up.
Yep, he was effective.
He was effective. He organized that. He stopped them from closing clinics in the black community in the city of Chicago.
Right. From a jail cell.
Exactly. And that's why they never wanted him to get out, because that kind of power would bring the black community back together. The streets will be safe again. He ain't got to say nothing, just his presence, him speaking and saying, you know what, let's save our communities. But to black people, the Democratic Party don't want our communities saved. Let's be honest.
Nope. No, they make money off of it. Seriously? Why would you eliminate your cash cow? Please.
Let's finish this and we're going to talk about it.
Is an appropriate end to the Larry Hoover story, at least the federal part of it.
Safer says Hoover was perhaps the most notorious criminal the state of Illinois has ever known.
He was convicted of running a continuing criminal enterprise that had approximately 30,000 members across 28 states, selling over $100 million worth of drugs in the state of Illinois alone each year. And he ran that entire operation with ruthless efficiency from prison, where he was serving a state sentence for double murder.
Safer also told us about Hoover being recorded, saying teenagers needed to sell drugs for his criminal organization. The recording was made a year after the Gangster Disciple leader was interviewed on CBS Chicago.
There was another tape where Larry Hoover said, you have to share your drugs with these children. And I'm talking about 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, so that they can sell it and they can have something. And he said, make them know that with you, they are somebody, and without you, they are nobody.
Meantime, shortly after the commutation announcement, Hoover's son posted this picture on Instagram. That's a White House official holding a copy
That's Alice
of the
Johnson.
commutation.
That's who I work
Hoover's
with.
attorneys say they're thrilled he's going to be released from federal custody, but again, he still has a 200-year sentence to serve for his crimes in Illinois. In the newsroom, Suzanne Lomagno, CBS News, Chicago.
Now,
It's, I
guys,
find it
let me
interesting.
say something. Now, you see that sister, Suzanne Lee Manon.
Mhm.
She's a good friend of mine. And she has never, she's a black woman, a Creole black woman. She has never been given an anchor spot except for a few spots on the weekend. She's a staunch Democrat. And she raised her head up against them once, and I gave her an award, and they hated her for that. She'll never see her desk as her anchor. And I'm sitting there watching her saying, she knows better than that because she knows the truth. That Ron Safer, the same federal prosecutor who came on and said that Larry said sell drugs to kids, that's a damn lie. I grew up under Larry Hoover's leadership. He never talked to us about selling no drugs. He talked to us about going to college, being educated, coming back to the community, giving back. But you could see all those people who rallied against downtown. It was over 12,000 who rallied downtown. And when he was able to put that together from the jail cell to our people to organize, they did not want him out. And that's why they came up saying he ran a criminal enterprise. He didn't run a criminal enterprise, but he had power in the community to unite black people to come against all the bad things like what's the abortion clinics?
Mm-hmm.
Planned Parenthood.
Right.
He was saying we don't want Planned Parenthood in the black community. They were shutting those clinics down.
Yeah.
See, it's a lot that black people don't know, and black people, we need to quit taking sides of a government that has never produced anything for us, but only used us and have taken and destroyed our community.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, guys, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, well, I can understand there's big money involved with this now that I understand that he tried to close down Planned Parenthoods. Like they are vicious with their lawyers, with everything that they try to do to push, promote abortions. So I'm not surprised now that he has this 200-year sentence. Why would they ever want him out? Why would they ever want Black Americans to agree to not have abortions? That's their big ticket item.
Maker. Yeah,
that's their money. That's their money maker. So the other thing I really do have a problem with is, like, in one part of the clips that you showed earlier today, it talks about Larry being sent to a supermax prison at 74. Like they are just so gung-ho on the fact that he's gonna do something if we put him in a prison that is not a maximum security prison at 74. His influence, their fear of him uniting the Black community is really spurring this, and I do hope that you guys are able to help him find a way to get out of those 200-year charges.
Well, like I said earlier, the state of Illinois, and you read it off, Dre. The state of Illinois said a life sentence is 20 years. After 20 years, you can be paroled. And so I would urge the black community to call J.B. Pritzker, to send letters. It's not about, it's much bigger than Larry. And that's why I keep saying it. He deserves to be at home with his family to spend the rest of his life watching his great grandchildren. Okay.
Right.
But I'm urging Black people to understand one thing. And I say it's bigger than Larry because this is a very pivotal time for the Black community. See, the Democratic Party is upset. Black people woke up. In Illinois, they voted 47% red. The Democratic Party is at total array right now because they know Black people is not going for the okie doke no more.
No.
We're not going for that no more. And so what the Democrats are doing now is they still painting the picture to make black people think that somebody who stood up against abortion clinics in the black community, that do y'all get the picture now? This is not about drugs and killing. This is about the love for the black community. Larry Hoover is a political prisoner. And J.B. Pritzker, he's already served his 2 life sentences to 200 years. 50 years is enough. And I think that if J.B. Pritzker had any respect, and black people, if J.B. Pritzker don't sign that clemency to commute Larry Hoover, he doesn't give a shit about us. And that's the last person on this earth that black people need to see, that run our state, that does nothing for Chicago, does nothing for black people downstate, does nothing for black people but seriously use them. You got all them house Negroes sitting up in the state house, all them Negroes who think that they Greek and they not black. But he dealing with you. Righteousness is the key. And I can tell you that. You might die with a handful of money, but when you die, you ain't taking none of it with you. And you're going to pay. As a man of God, I'm going to tell you, you are going to pay. All of y'all siding with JB saying he don't need to be out, y'all should be running down there with a pen telling them, JB signing, let's get Larry out. But you know why they're not going to do that? Because they've been paid to do it. That's why I'm running for mayor of Chicago. We finna get rid of this crap. We gonna get rid of it all. We need to have aldermen. I need brothers to stand up with me, and we become one unit, and we take our communities over politically. That's what Larry said. Put down the guns and pick up that voting ballot. That's why Larry is locked up. Y'all last words, guys. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it has been over 50 years, and the federal prosecutor was talking and, quoting, and I think he was misquoting what was actually said between Larry Hoover and the informant that they sent into the prison to get him, hung up on federal charges. It's been over 50 years. Where's the transcripts? I want to see the transcripts. I want to hear the recording. It's been over 50 years. Even if he is still alive, you can still release that information to the public because it's been over 50 years. So thank you for that tidbit of information. So I'll be looking for that and scouring for that online, by the way. Just in closing, thank you for, really bringing a lot of historical information to Larry Hoover that people didn't know and didn't understand. Again, my stance is he wasn't locked up because he was ineffective. He was locked up because he was effective.
Dre?
I think as we consider our place as a community, the Black community, we really need to look at these harms that have been done to our people and work together to right those wrongs. And I think that you, Pastor David, and Dr. Nichols have said it all. We need to focus on the evidence. We need to utilize the evidence that we have to get this guy out of this 200-year sentence and get him back home.
Guys, thank you so much. And I'm off vacation now. The champ is back in the house. So tomorrow, man, from my new location, and let's talk about the network for a minute, folks. Our network is coming along. We're almost done. We did the last pieces for Amazon with Fire Stick yesterday, and this is truly going to be a great television network because we're going to bring information like we bring in this show. We're going to bring the content so people can understand what's going on. I mean, we got Doc in the morning doing her thing, bringing her news, bringing ideology. We're going to have Dre talking about the immigrations and all the stuff that we're bringing to the table. It's research. Everything we do, we research it, and we present it to our community because there is no true voice except for what we do out here. WVON ain't no good. A bunch of Democrats run that, and they all messed up. Jesse Jackson with Push, that's done. There's a done deal. Al Sharpton with Little Al and look whatever he is, those people are not going to inform the Black community on what they need to do. And that's where you're going to find us at Let the Truth Be Told Networks. We're going to continue to put stuff out. We're going to continue to put information out there because information is needed so that we can make good decisions when we moving forward in the future. Blessings to you guys. We'll talk tomorrow. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. I want to give you my last words. There's always been situations in our community, in the Black community, that would allow for change. Change came when all those Black farmers and Black people left the South and migrated to the major cities. And that's when the Black society was created. My mother and father, y'all mothers and fathers out there who gave their lives just so that we could be and have some type of legacy to live on. The Black community was fine during the Dr. King eras and Malcolm eras. And you know why? Because Black people stood together, the judges, the lawyers, the police officers, the school teachers. All of them loved the Black community. How do you think I was able to graduate from high school at 15? Because I had people who loved me, that pushed me, who wanted to see me. We have to take and go back to that time. We can be saved, but we got to get God back into our lives. We got to get God back into the Black community, not the fake ones, the real great I am, Yahshua of Nazareth. Those are the real names of the supreme beings who created all of us. So I'm saying at this particular time and at this particular juncture, to the Black community across the country, now that we've seen how the Democratic Party continue to lie, cheat, and steal, and kill, we can see that a lot of Larry Hoovers are in jail right now. And my prison ministry as a pastor of Universal Baptist Church, and when I made an oath to God that I would stand for righteousness, I plan to keep that. I'm urging other pastors across the country to reach out for me, 708-663-5262. Go to our website, LetTheTruthBeToldRadio.com. LetTheTruthBeToldRadio.com. Send me some information, because now that I am working in a capacity with Miss Alice Johnson, those who have been locked up wrongly, call me, go to my website and leave your information so that we can take a look at these cases and make sure justice is done while we still got a president. See, Donald Trump is about uplifting, whether you want to believe it or not. Donald Trump don't have no mind. It doesn't bother him to see the Black community flourish. That's why he created the First Step program. That's why he created a pardon czar like Miss Alice Johnson. You haven't seen that by any other president. Barack Obama didn't create no pardon czar. Ronald Reagan didn't do it. Bill Clinton didn't do it. No other president has done this. So to the Black community, it's time for us to love ourselves. It's time for us to use the leadership under President Trump and start rebuilding our communities. We need to remove all the fake leadership out of power in the Black community. That way the Black community will have a chance to survive. That way that our children will have some kind of future, that they won't be running around killing each other. It's time for the Black community to really take a look at the leadership. Because if Donald Trump pardoned Larry Hoover, why didn't Barack Obama do it? Why didn't Bill Clinton do it? Why didn't George Bush do it? Why didn't the other Bush do it? You know why? Because they hated the Black community. They did not want to see the Black community rise. But to my brothers and sisters across the country, men and women of God and Christ, this is our time to stand up and do righteous things to make America great again. God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow.